Hi, and welcome to Navajo County Connections. I'm Rochelle Lacapa, Government Relations Director for Navajo County, and today I have Rhonda Krouse, Code Enforcement Division Manager. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, nice to be here.
Great. So can you tell us a little bit about your program?
Sure, so I am the Division Manager and I oversee 3 different programs, Medical Examiner, Environmental Health, and Animal Control. So today we're going to talk about animal control.
Great.
So it's great to be here because I think that's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Absolutely.
So we have 3 full-time employees. We service about 3,500 square miles of Navajo County.
Wow.
We also will help the cities and towns, and we will help our tribal partners if requested. Our main goal is to educate the public on those ARS, or Arizona Revised Statutes, and our county ordinance.
Great. And are shelters included in your scope of work?
We don't run any shelters. We do have some contracts with shelters throughout Navajo County. We have approximately 5, all in Navajo County. And along with that comes the kennels. The kennels is our most important issue that we're running into. We just have an overwhelming animal population, and we have about 120 kennels throughout the county. So
wow.
We're kind of short on kennel space.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Can you tell us what is the violation that is cited the most under your division?
Sure, so the frequent citation that we write is animal at large. And that kind of goes full circle. A lot of people don't understand the repercussions of that. If you let your animal run loose and it hurts somebody, you as the animal owner are at fault, and we don't want that. Our main goal is to protect our employees, the community, and our animals.
Right, or if an animal is loose and runs in the road and causes an accident. I've seen that happen as well.
Yes,
so yeah,
definitely.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. Do you have a second violation that's also most common, or is it primarily the animal at large?
We have, it's kind of like a tie. We have between no license, which is another very important rule, Arizona Revised Statute, that we have to abide by, and that helps us. It's not that we're trying to hammer down the laws, but keeping that license on that animal lets us know that that animal has been vaccinated, especially for rabies.
Sure.
That is a deadly disease.
Yeah.
So that lets our animal control officers know that this animal has been protected against rabies, and it goes into a database. Whether you get this license in a vet or a city or town or through us, Navajo County, it goes into one system, so we know which animals have been vaccinated.
Oh, that's great. Mm-hmm. Excellent. What is the most rewarding part of your program?
So the most rewarding, I think, is seeing those injured animals or those malnourished animals get healed and then get adopted out. It's so nice because some people, they say that animals don't have emotions, but those pets, they sure do. When they find that special someone to take them home.
Yeah, anyone who has ever had a pet knows that they absolutely have emotions and feelings.
Yes,
for sure.
They do.
And they're favorite people.
Yes,
That's
definitely.
for sure. And so does that fall under your partnership with kennels and shelters, that process of getting the animals to the kennels or shelters out for adoption?
Yeah, so we will help them. We do a lot of social media help with a lot of the shelters. If they have lost or stray pets that they don't know, send them to us. We'll put them on the county website. This dog was found here, this cat was found here. Does it belong to anybody? And it's so amazing how fast social media works. It's great.
Oh yeah,
it's a great tool.
It's a blessing and a curse,
yes.
right? Depending on on which end you are on of that receiving end. Great. What's the most stressful part of the program, or your work in particular?
I would have to say it's the opposite of the rewarding. It's going to those hoarding houses or picking up those stray or injured animals and just seeing the devastations and the sadness in their eyes, and they just want somebody to love them and care for them. And I think that's the hardest part, is seeing those poor animals in an area. They can't help themselves. They can't feed themselves. They can't open up a can of dog food and cat food and feed themselves. So they're relying on us as humans to help them do that. And I think that is the most stressful part for me and for my animal control team, is seeing that part of it. It's very hard. The other one is not having enough room in our shelters. So like I said before, we only have 5 shelters in all of Navajo County.
Oh wow.
And throughout all 5 of those, we have approximately 120 kennel spaces. So we run about 1,200 calls of service per year. So we are busy.
Yeah.
And it's not just one dog here or 2 dogs there. It's 6 dogs, a half a dozen cats, and we're trying to place these animals, and we just don't have enough room. And I don't think you could build a shelter big enough to house all of the animals.
The demand.
The demand is so high.
Sure. So this is a question just for me. Do you also respond to, say, horse needs or exotic pet calls? And do you get those very often?
So we will respond to those. That's kind of out of our scope, but we have another partner with us. It's Department of Agriculture, and that's their scope.
Okay.
So we try and build those relations and those partnerships. That's very important to us because we want to make sure that our animals are healthy and well looked after. And so we definitely, if we come across that, we definitely let our partners know that this is something out of our scope, and
we need
advise
help.
them. Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I live in Taylor, and more and more you see people have cows, or they have horses, or they have goats, llamas. I've seen llamas, whether they're pets or work animals. But that's a huge breadth, and so that makes sense that you would have to have a lot of partners to help respond to all of those different types of animal needs.
Yes.
Makes sense. What are your program's goals and mission?
So pretty much our goals is to educate the community on the Arizona Revised Statutes, our county ordinances, how to be better pet owners and more responsible. We have to break the chain somewhere, so we're so overwhelmed with strays and abandoned animals. We need to help them educate. And how do you chastise or write citations on to somebody that doesn't know that they're doing something wrong?
Sure.
So that's our main goal. Our other one is to keep our community, our personnel, our staff, and our animals safe. That's the number one goal here.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a top hint or a top, this is the one skill you need to have, or if you do nothing else, here's what makes a great pet owner?
I guess just being responsible for that animal. Again, like the animals can't give themselves water. They can't give themselves shelter. They can't give themselves food.
Yeah.
And that love, that's unconditional love from an animal. Yeah. That's what we all strive to have as humans, is that interaction and that love. And I think if they would, if that's my one takeaway, is if they can just show love and care to those animals. They chose that animal, or that animal chose them.
Yeah.
So let's reciprocate and give them some more love,
Are there
Definitely.
Are there things that people should consider before deciding to become a pet owner? So thinking, I've got 2 kids who are just, every year we go through this battle of, Mom, can we please get a dog? And for a long time, I could say to my oldest daughter, oh, we have a sister, we don't need a pet. And that pacified her for a while.
Yes.
And as they've gotten older, I've had to say things like, well, dogs require walking and feeding and money to pay for that. Are there things that future pet owners should consider before getting a pet, whether it's a cat, a dog, a horse, and anything?
I would probably suggest it's time consuming. So whatever you do for like your kids and stuff, just double that. Because it is time consuming.
Right.
Because eventually, if you don't show love and affection and care for that animal, it's going to be outside and stuck outside somewhere, and nobody cares for it. Nobody's going to walk it. Nobody's going to feed it. So it's very important to remember that pets take a lot of time. It's like having a newborn at home, especially if you get a puppy. For those parents, just imagine a newborn. They have to be fed every 2 hours. They yelp, they cry, they whine. So that's why it's great to go to shelters, because a lot of these animals have already been kennel trained. They're already been potty trained. And they're good with animals. That's why you reach out to your shelters and ask them, this is what I'm looking for. And they would know. They would definitely know. And they try and pair the animals up with the personalities of the families. So
that makes sense. That's great. I actually was the owner of a Jack Russell Terrier who was from the White Mountain Humane Society, 13 years ago. And He was a crotchety old man, as my family used to say. He did not like people. He did not like to snuggle, and he would snip at people. And so most people didn't want him as a pet, and somehow he and I paired up really well together. Kind of like, you have your space and I'll have mine, and it worked out well until he died. But absolutely, they knew the personality of that dog, and my mom said, I think he'd be good for my daughter because she's not real snuggly either, and wouldn't want a pet that wants to be snuggled constantly.
Yeah.
So it worked well, and they really, the Humane Society here, and because that's the experience I have, they really care for their animals, and they care for the people who are coming in. That being said, where are the other shelters in our communities?
So we have the White Mountain Humane Society here in Pine Top Lakeside area. We have Pet Allies, which is in Sholo. We have Winslow, we have Holbrook, and we have Snowflake.
Oh, great.
So
there's
they're kind of spread out.
Spread out, which is nice. So just about anywhere you are in the county, you've got a shelter pretty close.
Yes, definitely.
Great. What are the things, or is there one thing that the community that we can do to help your program?
I would say the number one thing would probably be patience. It's a virtue, and a lot of us have to figure that one out, me included. I'm still working on it, but again, we are inundated with animals. We don't have the room to place them, and that's where they have to be patient, because we get calls, 1,200 calls a year, and we're trying to prioritize some of those calls, because our worst fear is having somebody hurt by an animal, or having that animal hurt or cause an incident, accident. So we want patience. We do the best we can. Like I said, there's only 3 of us, or 3 of them. That run throughout the county, so we're pretty busy.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I know we are coming up on kind of fire season, and could you talk to us a little bit about what pet owners could do to help make sure their pet is prepared if we've got a ready, set, go once fire season begins?
So July is actually preparedness month for animals, and that's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. So a lot of us prepare for ourselves, but some of us forget about our animals. So like right now I have an elderly cat, so she takes medication daily. That's something that I would have to remember in my go kit, is to make sure that we have her medication ready to go. Her little blanket that she sleeps on all the time, so your food and water, because she's a very elderly cat. She's very picky, so we have to have a variety of food for her to eat. For your large animals, you definitely have to make sure, if we ever have to provide a shelter, to bring their food. We can provide the shelter, we cannot provide the food. There's just so much different varieties of food out there that there's just no way that we can provide all of that. So just make sure that you have that ready to go. And like their squeaky toys, because they're going to be stressed. They feel what we feel. So if we're stressed out, they're going to feel it. So bring them whatever comforts them. Excellent. Great advice. Anything else about your program that you'd like to share with us? I love the team that we work with, and I love the community. I've been here since 2000. It's a great community, and if we could just kind of start changing our view of taking care of our pets, because that's, in some people's priorities, that's not their priority. It's other things, and I get that. But just remember that whatever your neighbor does affects the whole, us as a whole. So we just try and abide by those statutes and those ordinances. They're there for a reason, to keep us safe. Keep us safe, right, not to punish us. I know it feels that way if you ask my kids. Your rules are just to punish me. So no, it makes absolute sense. Do you know, are there ways for folks who might have a love of animals but say don't want a pet, like myself or my kids, that they could get involved or volunteer? Are there opportunities? Oh yeah, so if you look on our website, which is our Navajo County government website, under Departments Public Health, because that's another issue that some people don't realize, is animal control is under public health, not law enforcement. So if you look under there, we actually have all of our shelters and hyperlinks to their specific websites, and you can volunteer if you wanted to. You can go there. They always love volunteers. They try not to turn anybody away. Oh, great. Excellent. That's a great suggestion. Great. Well, anything else you'd like to share with us? I think that's it. Thanks for having me. It's been great. Appreciate it, Rhonda. Appreciate it. So thanks, everyone, and we will see you on the next Navajo County Connections.